In 1962, firefighters descended into the Centralia mine. They found smoldering coal there, which has been burning ever since. In a few days, a blooming town turned into a toxic gas chamber. Why did the government hide the true causes of the underground fire, and what were they really trying to burn? The asphalt burst open. Thick white smoke poured out of the cracks. People abandoned their cars right at the intersections. No one even had time to grab their family photo albums. Now Centralia is a ghostly exclusion zone. Road signs have been swallowed by a dense forest. Underground, a hellish inferno rages at a temperature of 1,000 degrees. Toxic fog creeps over the cracked highways. Rare stalkers hear a strange hum from beneath the earth. It is not the sound of burning coal. It is the rhythmic operation of heavy machinery. What kind of bunkers are hidden in the depths of the cursed mine? Let's fast forward thousands of kilometers to the cold north. The settlement of Pyramiden on the Svalbard archipelago. A Soviet utopia amidst the permafrost. In 1998, the evacuation order came suddenly. Residents were given exactly 24 hours to pack. In the dining hall, plates with untouched soup were left standing on the tables. In the music classroom, the northernmost grand piano in the world was abandoned. The wind howls in the empty corridors of the Palace of Culture. Frost has bound the houses. Snow penetrates through the shattered windows. The official reason for leaving is the unprofitability of coal mining. But the archives of the mine administration were hastily burned before departure. The workers had punched a drift into an anomalous geological zone. Polar bears now avoid the entrance to the main mine shaft. Now, after the cold of Russia, we head to the coast of sweltering Taiwan. Futuristic capsules of plastic and concrete rust under the scorching sun. The town of Sanju was built for wealthy vacationers. But the elite resort never welcomed a single guest. Construction was shut down in a matter of weeks. Workers refused to show up for their shifts en masse. They claimed that excavators had unearthed an ancient cemetery. Equipment regularly broke down without any apparent reason. The cables of construction cranes snapped like rotten threads. Investors lost millions, but fled the site in a panic. For many years, these alien ruins attracted only stalkers. Local authorities strictly forbade approaching the yellow capsules. They feared not the collapse of the structures, but what hid inside. In the round windows at night, strange shadows were spotted. Now let's move to the cliffs of southern Italy. The medieval town of Krakow towers over a scorched valley. Stone houses cling to the steep slope like swallows' nests. People lived here continuously for over 1,000 years. They survived a deadly plague, wars, and long sieges. But in the mid-20th century, the ancient town surrendered. The earth literally slipped out from under their feet. Deep landslides began tearing the narrow streets apart. Stone walls cracked at night, driving the residents mad. The last families hastily left here in the 80s. In an abandoned church at the top of the hill, the altar still stands. Holy frescoes slowly crumble onto the cold stone floor. The wind howls in the empty alleys, creating the illusion of whispers. Italians call Krakow an absolute exclusion zone. And no one dares to stay in these ruins after sunset. Now we head into the scorched Namib Desert. The sand slowly devours the diamond town of Kalmanskap. 100 years ago, life boiled here, and rivers of champagne flowed. German miners built a true oasis in the middle of the dunes. People believed that the precious stones would last for centuries. But the deposit dried up as suddenly as it appeared. Residents abandoned their luxurious mansions in '54. The desert immediately began a ruthless assault on the empty houses. Sand dunes broke through the heavy doors and filled the rooms to the ceilings. The wind drives dry sand over the remains of expensive furniture. Expensive wallpaper hangs in tatters from the walls of ruined bedrooms. Local tribes bypass this dead town. They believe that desert spirits take brutal revenge for the stolen treasures. And anyone who stays here after sunset will disappear into the sands forever. Now we cross the ocean and arrive in California. Bodie is the most sinister ghost town of the Wild West. The gold rush era turned it into a capital of vice. Bandits and gold prospectors killed here every day. When the ore reserves ran out, people left in incredible haste. The town froze in time, like a macabre museum of disaster. Untouched bottles and glasses still sit on the tables in the saloons. In the abandoned school, desks wait for students, and a lesson is written in chalk on the board. A thick layer of dust covers the shelves of shops with goods from the last century. Park rangers fiercely guard this place from looters. But Bodie's main defense is its ancient curse. Anyone who takes even a rusty nail from here is doomed to misfortune. Park management receives dozens of strange packages every year. Tourists return stolen items in a panic. They beg the spirits of the town to leave them alone. This time we cross the equator and descend into the Atacama Desert. The driest place on the planet hides a terrifying secret. The town of Humberstone was built to mine white gold, saltpeter. Thousands of workers brought their families to this lifeless Martian landscape. They built an English theater, a swimming pool and massive factories. But synthetic fertilizers destroyed the market in a single day. The mines closed, and the town literally died of thirst. People left on foot, leaving all their belongings under the scorching sun. Rust ruthlessly corrodes giant steel mechanisms. In the empty theater, rows of seats are covered with a thick layer of toxic dust. The dry wind rocks creaky swings on the playgrounds. There are no bacteria in this desert, so things practically do not rot. Abandoned leather boots look like they were taken off yesterday. But at night the temperature drops below zero, and the metal begins to groan. The skeletons of factories emit sounds, chillingly similar to a human scream. Now we set course for the Caribbean Sea, the island of Montserrat. A tropical paradise turned into a gray hell in '95. The Soufriere Hills volcano woke up without the slightest warning. The island's capital, Plymouth, was instantly buried by a pyroclastic flow. Boiling ash moved at the speed of a race car. Residents rushed to the boats, saving only their lives. The modern ghost town is now buried alive. Only the roofs of banks and hotels protrude from under a multi-meter layer of ash. Telephone booths are filled to the top with a hardened gray mass. In abandoned supermarkets, canned goods have melted into plastic shelves. Toxic gases still erupt from cracks in the dead earth. Access to the red zone is strictly forbidden by armed patrols. The town is slowly sinking into a toxic acidic swamp. Frozen clocks on a surviving tower forever show the time of the disaster. And no one knows when the cursed volcano will strike its final blow. We descend to a depth of 40 meters underwater. Qiandao Lake in China hides an entire metropolis. Lion City was flooded intentionally to build a power plant. 300,000 people left their ancestral homes in '59. The water rose so rapidly that people abandoned absolutely everything. Ancient temples and carved statues plunged into eternal darkness. Where carts used to ride, schools of fish now swim by. The icy water preserved the stone walls better than any museum. Divers descend into this underwater tomb with a sinking heart. They see perfect streets, on which a ray of light will never fall again. But the most terrifying thing is hidden not underwater, but deep underground. Let's return to the very first town of our investigation. Centralia. The burning mine. The basement of the abandoned radio center. What did the rescuers find in the sealed bunker? They cut open the armored door with a powerful blowtorch. Inside there were no signs of fire or panic. In the middle of the empty concrete room stood a running military tape recorder. The tape had been spinning in total darkness for decades. The government classified this discovery for half a century. But we gained access to the transcript of this audio recording. It contains no cries for help or evacuation instructions. A monotonous mechanical voice is recorded there. It endlessly repeats the exact same set of coordinates. And these coordinates lead to the very center of the ice continent. To Antarctica. Into a dead zone, where any expeditions are strictly forbidden. The mine fire in Centralia was just a massive smokescreen. People were forced to flee to hide what they had unearthed in the depths. What exactly did the government hide deep under the ice of the South Pole? Write your theories in the comments, and we will check them in the next video.